Hello.
Hi,
Hi.
what's going on?
Hey, I'm up. Something.
Yeah, what's your normal schedule and what are you doing now for your time sleep wise?
Right now I'm not adjusting too much. Sometimes it's harder to get back on the schedule for short periods of time. So at least for the last few months, while everything's kind of been closed, I'm not really bothering with flipping my schedule to the day shift because it takes me a day and a half, 2 days to get back in the normal swing of things. So I usually change it by about a couple hours so I can get up a little bit earlier. So like last night I went to bed about 2 o'clock and then got up at 9. So
Okay.
just a little bit earlier so I get a little bit more daylight.
Yeah, for sure. I've been getting up at like 5 a.m. for the last couple of years, so I
Woo!
get up with without an alarm sometimes now.
Yeah, yeah.
Make sure I get to bed on time.
I'd like to be able to do that. It's just not consistent enough. I get up at 3 p.m. most days.
Yeah. Very different.
Yeah,
Yeah, better? Is it just add some spice into your life?
yeah. You could say that.
Yeah. Um, so how's your training been going? You've been doing some biking and running lately?
Yeah. Yesterday I did absolutely nothing, which was great. Um, Wednesday and Thursday I did some weight training stuff and then did about 10 miles Thursday, which felt really good. So I haven't run that far in a while. It was just one of those, I feel good, I'll keep going kind of things.
Yeah.
Nice out, it was cool out, it was perfect outside, so why not? I have been doing a lot less running and biking lately just because the whole situation with the Ironman tentatively not happening. I still haven't heard back from them whether or not that the Santa Rosa race is going to be on or postponed. It already has been postponed, but if it's going to happen this year or they're just going to move it to next year, focusing on some other things. So I was working on some the P90X3 program, uh, especially when I'm working 12-hour shifts trying to fit something in every day. I can do a half hour. I can do a half hour or something. So more weight training. Obviously, the pools are all closed right now, so I can't do any water swimming. Starting to get warmer though, so I might be able to go outside.
Find a lake maybe.
Yeah, yeah, um,
Hey, go jump in a lake.
yeah. No, I want to. It'd be
Yeah.
nice. Um, but yeah, I'm focusing on some other things that I wouldn't normally do. So running and biking are up there, but um, while I've got this time, try to focus on a couple other things too. So I think it's been working. It's been a little bit of a directional shift, but it's certainly not burning me out like sometimes it does when all you're doing are just three things and you're just doing them for hours on end.
Sure.
It's fun, but it's a different kind of fun.
Yeah, it's challenging in a different way, going after those different muscle groups and getting you stronger so you can maybe run faster.
Yeah, it's all functional. So like they all kind of compound on each other and build, and once you start working in a certain area, maybe you get deficient or you get complacent in some areas, and I think this kind of builds a little bit better of a base to kind of start back up on. So hopefully we hear in the next couple weeks what the plan is for Santa Rosa. It was supposed to be end of July, like July 25th or something. So would have been in less than 60 days, which was really coming up quick.
Yeah.
Um, but the last I had heard, the potential would have been for like November, but that I guess that depends on what California wants for large groups to come and visit. Some of the other big races are either flat out canceled or moved to next year so far. So
And those
might
collect a lot of people to those races, maybe a couple thousand people at some of those bigger triathlons.
the Ironman's 3,000, 3,500 maybe.
Yeah.
I know some of the marathons are the Big Sur marathon is 10,000 plus. I mean, they're big.
Yeah.
So that's a huge part of it too. Not only do they want to try and keep some of the numbers down for just interacting with individuals from all over the world, you don't want to create another hotspot, and then they bring it back and
Yeah.
restart this whole pandemic thing.
Yeah, it's tough. And out of those 3,000 people who would maybe enter, what do you think the percentage of actual finishers would be? Is it pretty high?
It depends on the race. It depends on kind of the terrain for the most part. You know, some of the more difficult ones are more hilly, or it's harder to finish the bike, or different parts of the course. Um, there's maybe anywhere from 5% maybe on average that don't finish. So there's a good majority that you've put that amount of time in, you're
Yeah.
going to figure out how to get to the finish line.
Right.
There are those that unfortunately they get a mechanical issue with their bike and you can't finish, or you crash, or your body's just not going to let you finish, or you don't make the time limit. But for the most part, those are pretty small um, small amounts. So it is kind of interesting to see those numbers and how people stack up, and like where everybody fits in the time gap. But there are unfortunately those who put in all that time, and I've been there at the end where you're watching somebody come in and they're not going to make it, and they're just seconds behind, and well, there's a time limit. You got to make it in with the time limit. A couple of years ago, we were at Lake Placid, and a guy didn't make it coming into the oval, into the finish on time. He was maybe like a minute or 2 minutes behind, and he didn't officially finish, but the whole crowd that was there to cheer people in stayed until he came in. So it still felt like he finished. You put in 17 hours of time. I mean, at that point, you don't care if you get a medal.
Yeah, you're just trying to
maybe
finish.
you, yeah, maybe you didn't officially finish, but you finished the distance, and at that
Yeah.
point, and it's just a matter of time before you come back and try it again.
And they come around with like a golf cart or some sort of shuttle. If you just pick everybody up, how does that work? You can't finish.
It depends on where it is in the course. There are some checkpoints where they won't necessarily pick you up off of the course, but they'll let you get to a certain point on the course, um, and then say you can't continue from here. Whether that's like a loop point or a part of the course where you'd have to go out and back. Um, on the run, it's easier because you get to a certain mile marker, and if you don't get it by then, well then you just can't continue. Or if you come in off the bike, but they won't come in with a little sag wagon and a truck saying you got to get in the back, or a bus.
No.
No, not normally. No.
Do you think that's a good thing? Would you like to see that abolished, or do you think that's a good thing for health reasons? If you go out longer than 17 hours, maybe your body can't sustain that. Is that the idea?
Well, it's just to keep people that are going to be on pace on the course. So the hard cut's the 17 hours, but for each leg of the bike, you have to make each mile marker by a certain time, each part of the run by a certain time, and that's just because mostly because of noise ordinances, and you can't be on the course for that long, and they have to police and keep all the local roads or whatever they're using uh, uh, open and clear for that period of time. So the bike course shuts down, and then those open up to the roads, and so it's how do you keep that huge amount of land locked down for an entire day in a city?
Yeah.
So same thing with the marathon. You can only be on the course for so long before they have to open it up to everybody else.
I got you.
And then if you're not going to make these checkpoints at this time, there's no way you're going to finish on time either.
Right.
It's a little bit of both. You hate to see somebody, because it's happened where somebody doesn't make the bike cutoff and then crushes the run, and they still got disqualified because you didn't make the cutoffs in time. So yes, right. So and that's happened plenty of times before. and it sucks.
Yeah.
That's
It's so close.
that's what it is. If you miss the swim cutoff, you get out of the swim in what is it, 2 hours and 40 minutes.
Oh yeah.
They won't let you continue.
2 hours and 40 minute swim.
I think so. I think that's
Long
what the cutoff
swim.
is.
I didn't realize it was that long in time.
I think it's 2 hours and 40.
It's 2.4 miles, is it?
2.4 miles. Yeah. Yeah. I've done it. I've done them all in about the same amount of time, a little over an hour, like hour 10.
You were on the swim team in high school, middle school, maybe
Yeah.
elementary school if there was one.
Yeah, the swim is probably the easiest
Yeah.
for me, but it just means I get my butt kicked when I get out of the water and get on the bike. It's just everybody and their mother passes me.
Yeah.
I just feel like I'm standing still.
You think it's because you exert yourself more on the swim than they do? Because you're faster?
No, it's just a rhythm that I found that works for me, that I don't feel tired or drained after it,
Okay.
and then I don't have enough bike stamina to keep 20 miles an hour for 114 miles,
Not many people do though.
112 miles. Yeah.
Long way on a bike.
So yeah, it's like I wanna go with them, and I see these people passing me, and like I could go that fast, and then like 10 miles down the road, like I shouldn't have gone that fast. So it's more of a run your own race at that point, because I mean it is the whole time, but you also want to go with whoever's going and stay with them, and you're like, this is going to be a bad idea if I do this. You know that, right?
You gotta race your own race. I've never raced that long of a race, but I'm sure
Yeah.
blow up, so to speak. You can't maintain that pace and get even more tired and go slower than you were beforehand.
Well, because you know what's coming,
Yeah.
and you know what you're going to have to do, and so you have to ask yourself, what do you have in the tank? And I mean, you can't burn all your matches in the first 10 miles of the bike, because it's going to be a long day, and you're going to probably come close to that time cutoff. All of my finishes have been pretty close. This last one being the toughest in Whistler was definitely the hardest and the longest. There was what, 8,000 feet of climbing.
Yeah,
On the
totally
bike.
different terrain each time.
Yeah. So the difficulty also depends on the course and the area. But they've all pretty been similar type courses. This one in Santa Rosa was going to be the flattest. Bike was still going to have 4,000 feet elevation, so that's not exactly flat, but
Yeah, I'm sure you're not starting at zero either.
yeah, it's also flatter than any of the other ones that I've done. The race course was pretty pancake flat, the run, but I don't know. We'll see.
You never get to ride the course. You might a few days before see it briefly, but you don't actually know what the course is until you're riding it.
Yeah, there are events where you could come out and like check out the course. Some people will ride it beforehand, so you know what's coming up. I don't have enough stamina in me to do that before the race. Some people will go out and recon the whole course and do the whole thing a month or two in advance. Being on the West Coast, yeah, if you were a lot closer, that'd be a lot more fathomable. But I mean, I'd love to go out to California every other weekend, but it just doesn't happen like that.
Yeah, not yet anyway.
Unless you're really like in contention and want to know every turn and every corner, so you know what's coming and where you could go and where you could pick up pace and speed. I don't really see that helping very much.
Yeah, there may be videos of previous races.
Yeah, watch somebody else ride it, or people drive cars through the course, and okay, you can see the left and right turns and where you're going to go and all that, and people do that all the time. But yeah, I don't really see it until you get out there. And then if it's a multiple laps thing, well, you're like, okay, well, I've seen it all before. I know it's coming. And where was that turn again? Okay, here it is. And where was that stupid tough hill? Okay, here it is.
Yeah. Then you learn a little bit better. Some of the corners may be able to take faster than last time. more comfortable.
Yeah, but I mean, it's so marginal with that amount of distance.
Yeah, I think so.
Just go.
Yeah.
Just go and listen to your body. Because if you go by numbers, yeah, it can keep you in check, but it's really how are you feeling and how far are you willing to push that line.
Do you try to hold a certain cadence, RPM speed the whole time, stay in a certain ranges, or?
I tried not to think about it too much. I'm trying to like take in the area that I'm in and not focus so much sometimes on me, because then I start like thinking internally and start overthinking things like I could go quicker or I could go faster, and just kind of not quite go on autopilot, but yeah, keep some kind of cadence, keep some kind of consistency. Obviously, it depends if you're going uphill or downhill, which your pace is, but I tend to do better with the hills because I've got something to focus on, getting up and over something, rather than it being flat and you being able to see forever and not knowing where you're going to turn it's like, okay, I can't see where the next checkpoint, your mental checkpoint is, or you're going to get to that next telephone pole or that next house or that next turn. Well, I can't see the turn because it's so far down the road. Being able to go up the hill, you can see a finish or you can see the peak, and then you get to go down, and that's the fun part.
Then you hopefully pick up some speed. You don't have to pedal as
Yeah,
hard.
get a little bit of a break.
Yeah. And you started riding, I think, when you were going to Michigan State. Is that right? You started getting in?
Yeah, it was 2000, 2010. It was like my senior year of college. I wanted to be in some way, shape, or form a part of like a Michigan State team, and club team is best I could do, but that's just fine. Um, bought a bike, was riding, got out and rode with the team a little bit, and then we did some races, and I did okay. I was just there to kind of have fun and do what I could, and kind of try something I've never done before, and that was fun. It was middle of the pack. It wasn't anything special, if dropped off the back, but.
And what kind of races were there? There's so many different types of bicycle races. There's like crits that are circles, like laps of shorter tracks. There's point to point. There's a track.
So they were all road races. Did we have a crit? There might have been one that we had put on at Michigan State, like went around the West Circle area. Okay. But I think either I was out of town for some reason, or we were actually putting it on, so we weren't racing, kind of thing. I don't remember which one it was, but we did have a couple of those. We had a home race, which was kind of like part off-road, part road race in the middle of nowhere, which was fun, which I remember being in like a drag race there at the end with some other guys from all over, which was just fun to do. Like we were racing for like 30th place, or whatever. It was probably much farther back than that, but it's like there was a pack of us that were all pretty even, and it was just fun. But we had that race. We went to Purdue and did a race there. One of the ones that sticks out to me was we, over spring break, drove down to Missouri and did a race there. And so we were the only like team from the north. Everybody else was down south or Missouri area, and then had the race, and then continued the next day, drove into like the mountains in Arkansas, and just spent like the next couple days putzing around hills and mountains. And we were like halfway up one of the big mountains. We had a little cabin with 20 people, and we just go ride and go all the state parks, and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that sounds like a blast, going up and down those steep mountains, and it's like
yeah.
You go up and then you get to go down, but
well, it takes you an hour to come up and 10 minutes to come down. I mean, they're big, but it was a lot of fun. Yeah, you're absolutely flying.
Yeah. Is that scary coming down though? Sometimes you're going like up to 40 miles an hour, whatever it is.
Yep. And then there's guys that are in front of you doing bunny hops over roadblocks. It's like, are you insane? Going 40?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have that kind of bike control. I mean, I'm always like, I'm not quite white knuckling it, but I'd rather have my hands on the handlebars
Oh yeah, for
and on the
sure.
brakes. Feel at least a little bit in control, but um,
Now,
I
are you
don't.
always crouched down? Do you have in the skis for that bike? No, you're on the.
No, I don't feel as comfortable with it. I had a bike fit for that bike last year, which I think really helped um, for the overall climbing part and downhill for that matter in Whistler. Um, for me be able to be on the bike, I think it was what 7 hours for that course. It was the longest I've ever been on a bike before.
Yeah, I bet.
Um,
Long time.
but that was it was a tough, grueling climb, but it was a lot of fun. I don't feel super comfortable being in the aero bars like that and the drops, and especially for me being in that position on the tri bike. The only thing I have access to at that point are the shifters.
Do you have
So
available?
my brakes are on the hoods on the side.
Yeah.
So I would rather me being in a lower crouch position with my hands close to the brakes than the shifters aren't gonna. I can't like motor brake with my.
Yeah, there's no engine braking on a bicycle.
No, can't do that. Can't do that. So yeah, I especially if I don't know where the hill is gonna end, I would not do that. I'm more conservative that way, and I'm not going to win any medals and win any places, so it's not really a huge deal. It was more of a flat course, and yeah, I'd probably be in more of the aero bars, more aerodynamic as much as you could.
Yeah.
Um,
Hey, Lily.
it's okay, girl. She's been more vocal lately because I've had a couple people come in here the last couple of days to do some like maintenance and stuff, and so she's like, "Here's door shut," and starts barking. Thinks somebody's gonna come in.
Yeah.
It's a good alarm. It's a good. Yeah, I know. Good sensor.
Guard dog.
Yeah, I don't have an alarm or anything like a burglar alarm, but Lily will let me know.
Yeah. Well, you might pretty soon at your new place, right?
Yeah, yeah. So that's something new. That's something that I've always kind of looked forward to, and never really knew when or if it was going to happen. I've been renting for the last 10 years and was always kind of looking for my own place, and I found one a couple miles away from my work in a pretty small town, but it's close to a lot of different things, and yeah, I'm excited. It's
Zealand area,
Zealand, yeah.
near Grand Rapids. And so right now you have, what, a 35, 40-minute drive to work every day?
Yeah, so it's 25 miles each way, and it's already a 12-hour shift. So I leave at 4 and I come back at 6.
Yeah, that's
So it makes it be a 12-hour workday and do a 14-hour there and back. So being literally 1.9 miles away from work, I could bike there, could run there in a period of time.
walk there easily, no problem.
Yeah, so I got a newer car. It's not going to put all that it's not going to put 750 miles a month on my car, maybe 2. So I'm really going to like that. That's going to be a huge plus. I'm basically gaining an hour of my time
Yeah,
that I just spent in the car. So I could use that for so many other things. You don't really get to make time back really at all. There's very little that you can gain time. I mean, you could be more efficient, but you can't like add hours into your day, and I feel like that's exactly what I'm doing.
Yeah, it's
so
great.
it's really nice.
It's a huge step up in your life's happiness in a way, because
Yeah,
it's just driving is great and fun, but I think transportation is not fun. There's a difference, and when you're stuck in traffic, it's very different than going out and having fun and driving.
yeah. So no, I'm really excited for that, and excited to really have my own place. It's something that I've always kind of wanted, but never really was able to pull the trigger on, or was thinking about it. And I've been kind of looking for the last year or so, but I haven't looked seriously. And so was just trying to look for a place, and something came up, and it's close to work, and there's really nothing wrong with the house, and it looks nice. It's a decent amount of space, and not like a huge place where it's like one person and a dog is going to be able to fill this place out.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of good things about it, and a lot of things that I can certainly improve. And online looking to see like how can I build my house kind of thing, and like set it up, and trying to look at it in different ways, and you can modify it and try and figure out like what you want to put in it kind of thing. So looking for ideas, looking for DIY stuff, and there's nothing wrong with the house, which is nice. There's a lot of improvements that I could make to vastly improve it. I think it's just going to be one of those little bit at a time things. It's going to take a long time, but we'll get there.
All move-in ready, nothing you got to do major with
Right.
walls or anything like that.
No. The main floor is all redone. Bedrooms are pretty nice. Bathrooms mostly remodeled completely. The hot and cold was flipped backwards, so it had me freaked out, like the hot water wasn't running. But it was just, I turned it the other way. I can fix that, no problem. Living room's pretty nice, and the kitchen's completely remodeled, so that was a big draw. Got a couple smaller rooms upstairs with like a mini bathroom, like mini half bath, that maybe down the line I could make one giant like suite.
Okay,
you got a walk-in bathroom and stuff. So that would be something that I would certainly contract out to try and figure out if it's possible, because that's way above my skill set, and I don't want to screw any of that water plumbing up. I would try to do that, so that wouldn't be something that I would do. But options, and like I said, nothing really needs to be done right now.
And you got a egress window in the basement, so you could put a bedroom and a small closet area down there and create another bedroom out of that.
Right.
Potentially
right.
Out and have them pay your mortgage.
Yeah. So there's plenty of options, and the basement's unfinished, so you can do a lot of work there. And then I got a 2.5 car garage in the backyard. That's all fenced. So
that's great. It's detached garage, just like mine.
Yep. So it's got a wide 2-car, and then right next to it there's maybe an 8-foot runner area that runs all the way to the back of the garage. That's just like a tool shed, like a storage area that's connected to the garage. So you can walk through a door on the side of the garage and then get to your cars without opening the garage door.
Yeah, that's nice. A little walkway, at least.
Yeah, a little bit more space that is certainly going to be used. Tools and equipment and who knows what else.
Yeah, I'm just moving stuff around in my garage, and unfortunately, it's not completely sealed, so I get a lot of critters, and I had mice the other day in there, and ninjas, running around trying to catch them, and it would be nice if it was more sealed and dehumidified almost, because it gets a little damp sometimes.
Where is it not sealed? Is it not sealed in like the roof attachment to the mortar of the building, or is it like holes underneath? Or
There's in the back wall, the wood is just kind of, I think, rotten and kind of peeling away, so you can kind of see light through the wood in the back. I think they just come in through there. It's not perfect, but when I first moved in, they actually had the sliding doors, like the barn doors on it. So it's an older structure. This house was built in like 1930 something, I think. I don't know for sure, but so they just finally put the sliding garage doors on it right before I moved in. So it's a pretty old structure. So it's not perfect, but it does everything I need. It has all my bicycles in there now.
Yeah.
And I was just sorting a whole bunch of cans. I haven't been able to return any of these recyclables, but the plastic, the cans, the glass, the
I
paper.
know I've got a lot of plastic bottles I got to get rid of too. They're just piling up in my closet.
I'm just sorting those this morning and moving some stuff. I got some new stuff down from a vendor to sell online, consignment, commission stuff. So I was just bringing some of that down. I still gotta fix those flats on my bike with that slime. The slime.
Yeah.
I was gonna put that one on the new mountain bike, and then I have a one flat on the old truck as well, the mountain bike. So
You
fix those.
still have that?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna keep it. It's really good to have a spare and backup
Yeah, a backup or something.
for sure, because two of them are down right now because of flats, and I haven't just replaced them. It's simple.
Well, it also makes you feel better about the new mountain bike that you bought when you get on that thing.
Oh yeah,
It's like, how did I ever even ride this?
I suffered for so long on that bike before I upgraded. I mean, it works. It'll do what you want it to, but it's not new. It's not. You're bouncing. The rear shock is just all over the place. It's not. One.
Do you have full suspension on your new bike, right?
They're both full suspension, and really, um, a lot of people argue that you don't need full suspension. You just need a good front shock and a hardtail is all you need.
Yeah, it's just preference.
So, and I've even seen, I've been reading some articles from not sure what series it is, but the World Championship UCI for mountain bikes, and they are switching up even the downhill series. They're having like a mullet bike, I think it's called. So they have a 29er in the front and 27 in the back. I think they're doing one in the front so you can get over the obstacles, but once you're over the obstacles, you don't need the bigger tire in the back, which is more rotational mass and it's slower. So
I see that.
people are going back and forth with it. I'm not sure if I'd want two different tires on my bike. I think it would change how it turns. It changes. Some say with the 29er front and back, you're going to have more understeer. It's going to be harder to turn. But when you have the mullet bike, the 29 in front, 27 and a half in back, it might be a little easier to turn in the corners.
It would change it a little bit, but I don't know how significant the adjustment would be.
Yeah,
It'd be a little bit weird. You just have to adjust your seat post a little bit to combat the butt sag.
Inch or two difference.
Yeah. I've done something similar, but I mean not to that drastic amount. I mean just mostly width of tire on my bike where you're riding 23 in front and 25 in the back. Just you're talking millimeters, but you're talking a little bit more traction on your backside.
Yeah. So what bike are you riding now for your road bike, your triathlon races?
For the tri races, I'm still riding the Look.
Okay.
So it's that white and black gold bike. It's an older frame. I actually got it off Craigslist in 2013. So the guy who had it before me kind of not custom built it, but put some of the components on it, and it's been good. I haven't really had a reason to upgrade, and there's millions of newer, lighter, faster, stronger bike parts and materials that you're gonna shell out $3,000. And so, yeah, if I can do what I'm doing now, you can only buy so much speed.
Yeah.
And until I get and I'm able to put more time on the bike and be more serious about it, I don't see a brand new $3,000 bike buying me any more than 5 minutes worth of time because it's not going to be. So what I did do this past Black Friday was FLO had a sale on their wheels, and I got some Aero wheels front and back. So
nice. I knew you were talking about it.
Yeah, that was one upgrade that I did do that could help, especially on flatter courses with more aerodynamics. So how much time it's going to buy, probably not, but half of it's looking like you know what you're doing.
I think
And
it's probably
so,
one of the better upgrades that you can make to make yourself.
yeah, yeah,
You said you can. There's only so much um, weight you can take off, and that's one of the more important places to take off weight.
yeah. Well, I mean, this is also an important place to take off weight. So
According
if
to
I'm
your
worried about, yeah, if I'm worried about weight on my bike, I've got other problems. So
yeah,
I
it's
need
important
to,
though. They say every ounce counts.
yeah. So that's kind of one thing that I'm working for now, trying to make me work better so my other things can also work better. Um, but that's kind of what I'm riding right now. Mostly indoors when I'm working night shift. It's hard to get out and ride it um, when it's dark out already. So I'll put in time, watch Netflix, do something at night while I've got Zwift on, and just kind of put in some miles and some time. Haven't gotten a whole lot out so far this year, just everything that's been going on. Want to get out and do some more mountain bike riding, and then when I do have time, I'll bring out my Cannondale bike and just go out and road ride. But I did sign up for, and so far it's going to happen. Believe end of September there was a I can't think of what it's called. Off-road triathlon. I want to say
Xterra.
kind of. It was it's a Michigan. It's a brand new Michigan race that some of the guys from Grand Rapids Tri put on, and it's a full triathlon. It's a swim, bike, run, Dirty Mitten. Uh, um, end of September, I think. Swim. I think it's an Olympic distance. Mountain bike, and then a trail run. So it's in some of the trails just north of Grand Rapids, and it looks like it'd be a lot of fun. So it'd be something new for me, something I really haven't done a whole lot of mountain bike work, and trail running is always fun. So doing that in a Xterra type off-road triathlon is going to be pretty cool. So far, things are starting to kind of work their way back to our new normal, and that's one thing that is still on. I'm kind of excited for.
Yeah, that's great. When did you say that was again?
End of September, I believe.
End of September.
Like the last weekend in September.
Yeah, I would think that that would be much more physically demanding because you have to deal with all the terrain, all the ups and downs. And,
Yeah.
you know, taking that in with your suspension and your arms, and also trail running, getting over all those rocks, and just it's way more mentally taxing to where am I going to put my foot instead of just mindlessly running with your head staring at the horizon. That road, it's way different.
Yeah.
A lot of times now, since both of my mountain bikes are down at the moment, I've been on the road bike, and I find myself taking the road bike out more. It's like I just want to get this done. I want to get the miles in. I know this is going to be faster than riding the mountain bike, so I'm just going to cheat and ride the road bike. And
you got to be focused the whole time. That's
yeah.
a mental game, and that makes it even more of a mental game when you got to focus on every wheel turn, where you're putting your front wheel or where you're putting your foot. You're not going to stick your foot in the root or do a nice face plant. You're going to eat some dirt.
Yeah, it happens. But luckily that it's not such a big deal. Usually when you're crashing on a mountain bike, you just fall over and you're like, oh, that was stupid, and get back on. There's nothing broken.
Yeah.
On the bike or yourself.
But Dad's really been liking that Specialized bike that I let him use. He was really reluctant to get off his, what was his, was it 70s Schwinn?
Yep, the Swahn.
And so I let him use that Specialized bike, and he was like, I don't know how I ever rode this thing. The shifters are all torn up, and the brakes are all dry rotted, and you can barely shift, and the little thumb shifters are so much better. And
Oh yeah.
so he's been putting 13 miles, 14 miles a day on that.
Yeah, that's great. It's
Pretty good.
huge accomplishment for him coming from, I mean, he was a soccer coach, but he wasn't really an athlete. And now he's done a year of exercising every single day. And even through injury and the snow and the rain and the hot weather, cold weather. It's inspiration. Makes me want to do more. I'm not doing as much as he is now. Like, how did that switch? I mean, I'm much I can't focus on that only. But it's like, man, I should be doing more. I should be getting up at 4:30 and doing a half hour because I could do that.
Yeah, but it started when I don't remember who exactly it was, but they were doing. He had like run a couple times. And he's like, I want to do something every day, kind of thing. And one of the guys that he works with was like, "You're not gonna do that. You're gonna quit." And it's like, "Oh yeah, I'll show you." And then it turned into this, where he's done everything every single day.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. And sometimes you just need that kick in the pants to say, okay, I'll finally do it. You caught me. You caught me out.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you want to ever go mountain biking, let's do it. I'm usually free after 5 p.m. after I ship orders and work my other job. But we do it on the weekends anytime. I can meet you halfway. I could come out there. I don't know many trails out there other than the ones that we do for the series. There's one out Fort Custer. I think kind of.
Yeah, I think that's closer. Yeah, that's like Kalamazoo area, isn't it?
Yeah, further south, I think.
Yeah.
But there's trails all over the place if you just kind of look at. There's maps on Strava that I've looked at that are helpful. And now you have a new area to explore with your new home base.
Yeah, there's a couple that I've been to that are actually pretty cool that are in Holland. Well, one's in Holland. There's Riley Trails, which is like a 3-mile kind of like running, biking loop. And then so the sand dunes in Saugatuck. It's like 8-10 miles worth of just dirt trails and sand trails, and you can see, I mean, you're right on the water, which is cool. You come up a crest and there's a lake.
Yeah.
And so you can drop right into the water if you wanted to.
Yeah, I'd like to go out there and check it out sometime.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff.
For sure. And so how did you, the first time you were thinking about doing a triathlon, how do you say, okay, I want to do this. This looks fun. Like what's your thought process behind that? How do you decide of all the things? You could play badminton, you could, you played tennis for a while, but there's so many different sports you could play. How do you say this is the one for me?
I didn't. It didn't happen like that. I kind of always wanted to do a marathon, and just thought it would be a cool goal and something to achieve and something to work towards. Didn't really do any kind of running, specifically running, until I got to college. Was doing some running for like drum corps and getting like the whole breath with exercise thing kind of under control, and do more like breath training kind of thing. I did like a half marathon at Michigan State, and then kind of some like fun runs and some trail runs and some 5Ks, and I did a warrior dash thing that was fun, and we did Tough Mudders and stuff like that. But I moved to Minnesota and was just kind of at like one of their sports stores, and they had a marathon that they would put on every fall in Mankato, and they had a training shirt that was like $5, and I needed I needed a running shirt. I didn't really have a whole lot, and it said marathon and training on it, and I bought the shirt. And then like a week later, I'm like, well, I got the shirt. I might as well just do the damn thing. And so that's how that happened. And I trained all summer for it plenty of times. I'm thinking I'm way over my head getting a training run in the middle of the day. It's 100 degrees. I'm dying after 5 miles. Like, I'm not going to do this 26 miles. Well, I was also in the middle of training, tired, hot, didn't have enough water. Like, you're figuring it out as you go kind of thing.
Sure. No, don't have any of those energy chews, anything.
No, didn't know what I was doing, trying to figure it out. And so my first race, I think, was like 5 hours marathon. So I was at like a 10-ish mile an hour pace. So took a while. It was a very bipolar day because it started off cold, snowing, turned to rain, and then it was like 90 degrees and hot by the end of it. So it was very weird. I had a like a windbreaker, that orange jacket that I wear all the time. It's that old.
Oh, yeah.
And then it got super hot. But that's kind of where it started. And then I did a couple more. I did like a Minneapolis one, downtown, the Minnesota Marathon. Done a couple others, and then just kind of went, well, let's just put it together, because I was still kind of swimming on and off at the YMCA. So I was still biking. I had started running, and so there was a try event. It was a strange distance. It was a third of an Ironman.
Okay.
So it was a very, very, you don't see that kind of distance very often. It's usually like sprint, Olympic, half, or full.
They just chose like, a third out of nowhere?
Yeah. I don't know if it was just logistically that's what they could do, but they had it mapped out to be a third of the distance. So
maybe to ease people into doing the full one, and here's one in between, maybe.
Yeah, I never got why it was that distance, but it was very doable.
That's what got you involved. Maybe that's
the game plan. I was just starting to get into it and figure out what I was doing, and I had all this stuff that I had put together, and none of it came together like I'd wanted to, and I think that was okay. I had a wetsuit. I was gonna do that, and it didn't come in. It came like the week after the race. Like I'd ordered it months in advance, and they got back ordered, and I didn't get it on time. So I was all freaked out about that. I was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna go out there and just finish it, and I felt good about it. And I kind of always thought that I could do an Ironman, and just one day was like, if I don't do it now, I don't know when I'm gonna be able to do it, or if I could do it. So I had the time, and just went for it. And there was one. It was more of a destination race too. The first one was in Colorado, and been to there a couple times, but it was fun to just explore. And then you're really exploring when you're out there and you're seeing it firsthand. And the run was in Boulder, and swam in a very clean reservoir that was pretty big, where you couldn't see the other side of it because it was so misty and foggy that morning. It was really cool.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, it was just a cool experience, and something that you put a whole lot of time into. If you put the time into it, it's just like you're having a fun training day, supported training day where people are actually cheering you on versus you being there and doing it by yourself.
Yeah, I would always say like racing is just a track day with a standing start. You're doing the same thing. You just have a start.
That's what it should be. It shouldn't be anything different than what you've been doing the whole time. And when it's not is when you're going to implode, and you're going to find out the hard way one way or another that you either weren't ready or you did something wrong.
Well,
you tried a new piece of gear, you tried a new piece of equipment, you went, oh, I feel good today, I'm going to go 110%. And you find that you don't have any more gas in the tank when you get towards the end, and you're done, and then you're miserable. That's
That would be hard for me to manage. Okay, you can't go 100% at the start because at mile 30 you're going to be dead. So how do you tame that in your own, because it's a race, you are racing, but you're not sprinting. It's just a different type.
Yeah, it's not a 5K.
Yeah, right.
Where you could feasibly go all out from start to finish.
20 minutes or so.
That's fine. You're done. It takes 20 minutes. Your body can handle that. Your body can't handle that for 12, 13 hours, which is what it's taken me.
Right.
So from experience, from your training runs what you're capable of. Doing a full at some point in that ramp up, you should be doing at least half that distance. and some 100-mile bike rides plus, just to try and get that under your legs so you can kind of feel what that's going to be. You'll do brick days, which will be 2 events kind of back to back, where you go swim bike or you go bike run, just to get your legs to feel that transition, because coming off from one going to the other is usually the hardest part, getting yourself into that mode. So you know what you can accomplish. You don't train at 8-9 mile an hour pace on the run and then go out and decide I'm going to run 7-minute miles.
Yeah.
Because that's not going to work. You can't finish it like that. So you want to do the best you can, but it's a internal, individual race. Yes, you're out there with 3,000 other people, but you got to rein that in and rein that adrenaline in, because it is a marathon.
Yeah.
I mean, it's there anyways, but it's not a short event, and you have to be able to sustain that the whole day. So you know how long it's going to take you to swim that distance, because you've already swam that, maybe not that exact distance, but you've come close to it. You've put in maybe in a couple hour swims, and I mean, realistically, if you've swam consistently, you should be able to hit that no problem. If you're a tougher swimmer, then you know you maybe need to focus more on the swimming than you do on the run on the bike. So you know what you're capable of, I guess, is the short answer to that.
Right. Something I liked, I'm not a huge triathlon. I don't know a ton about it yet, but I'm learning from you. And something that I learned when I went to see one is that they have strippers at these events, which is pretty cool. Talk about that a little bit. That's pretty progressive of them, right?
Yeah, I thought a couple times if I could like somehow package some dollar bills somehow on me to keep them dry. The good idea might be to like somehow have coins, you know, those like Sacagawea, like dollar coins.
Yeah.
And, like give it to them as like a buy. So this past race in Whistler, and I didn't find out until after it, they put some like production videos together just to like thank the volunteers or like showcase the race and the events in the area. And I made it on the volunteer video of me stripping.
Oh yeah.
of me being stripped. And when I got out of the water, I saw like the video camera guy there, and they were having a hard time getting the wetsuit top off of my watch. It had gotten stuck. I put the watch underneath so you can take it off. You don't have to like rip it off, and you still got the watch on the wetsuit, and then you got to take that off because now you've broken your watch. So it's underneath, but it still had somehow gotten stuck on it coming off. And so I'm like, okay, I'm not going to make the video anymore because this guy's struggling with me getting it off. But they got the second half of it where I was on my butt, and so the other guy is helping you because you're all hopped up and semi-delirious because you've just swam for 2.4 miles.
Yeah.
Helping you unzip your wetsuit in the back and then get your top off really quick, and then you'll like sit your butt down. They'll grab the top half of your suit and like yank it off your bottom, and it'll just come right off, because sometimes they're pretty hard to get off. That material is pretty sticky. I have larger feet. Yeah, I have larger feet than what is easily able to come out of those openings. So it usually takes me a minute or two to get them on, and even longer to get them off. So if they just take it and like bungee it,
Yeah.
it comes off pretty easily. And this last time, it came off pretty easily once they got the watch off. But I ended up, yeah, you can see me. I'm right there. So that's kind of cool. Yeah. There have been a couple times too where earlier last season, it was maybe right around this time when they had the Grand Rapids try in Ada, just around the corner from me, getting out of the swim. They got the top off and the bottom off, and there's like 20 people lined up, all these volunteers that are strippers that are taking people's wetsuits off because they come out in clumps. Or there's a whole bunch of people that can come out all at one time, and they want to try and get them through as quick as they can, so you can have the quickest day that that you possibly could. And one of the guys was standing maybe a little bit too close that was trying to assist. And the guy whips the wetsuit off and like literally bungees him in the face with the back end of my wetsuit.
Look at
So
rag.
I was ripping it off and it just went boom and snapped him like you would like a chamois.
Yeah, yeah.
So I just said, sorry, man. He was just laughing, but he got all wet and just got a face full of wetsuit.
And then you take your wetsuit. You get lotioned really quick with some sun lotion right after that, usually for the bike. And then you take your wetsuit. I assume you'd leave it on your bike rack.
So everything's got to stay on your rack, and for the most part, you can't have a whole lot of stuff in your area. So like if you've got a bike rack, there's maybe 6 to 8 to 10 other people on that same rack. For the smaller races, you're allowed to have like a little tiny mini staging area where you've maybe got like a half-size towel where you've got your shoes and your bike and everything kind of set up there. So I'll stage it ahead of time knowing what's coming up. I know where to go. I know where my stuff is. You got to have your helmet on before you even set foot on your bike. You can't ride your bike until you get out of the area. But where are my glasses? Where are my gloves if I want them? Where's my nutrition? Where's my water? Is it already on the bike? So you stage that stuff ahead of time so you can just grab it and go and not have to think about it. There's not too many times where I've screwed that up, but I have screwed that up because you're gonna.
Yeah, so many bikes that look similar.
It's like, oh, I forgot my shoes, or I forgot
different things you do.
my gloves, or yeah, something. But for the most part, yeah, your wetsuit goes on the bike rack, and then everything kind of just stays in that area. For the bigger races, for like the Ironman, you have bags, and so the day before you have to check everything else in. You can't do it the day before because that'd just be a logistical nightmare. It still is anyways, but you've got all your bike stuff in a bag, in a special bag. You've got all your run stuff in a bag, and so when you go into those areas, you take all your swim stuff off. All that stuff goes in that bag, and you take all your your biking stuff off out of that bag, and you put it all on, and then you drop it in that area and you pick it up later. So you may not be in the same exact spot every single time for the transition for the bike or the run. There's a lot of times where the swim is one area and you bike to another area, and then you finish on the run in a completely different area, and they bring all your stuff to one location at the end.
I got you.
So that itself makes it pretty tough to set up, where the smaller races, you come back to the same spot. You know all your gear is going to be there.
Yeah.
That's when you have the rack and you come back to the same spot every time.
It might be a little nicer. It's not so spread out, but either way.
Yeah.
Stuff.
Yeah.
And Deb was just mentioning he got a wetsuit, so he's kind of gearing up for something.
Yeah, he got a wetsuit, and then he got one of those, what do they call them? Lava pants. So he got the same brand wetsuit as I did, Xterra. That's the same brand that I had before, and it's lasted me 5 years. It's pretty holy, so it's almost dead. So I'll use it for training. I'll use it for that. But this new suit that I got is really pretty nice. I'm excited for. But he got a pair of lava pants too, which are more like buoyant swim shorts. So they like go down to your knees, and they're not like compression, but they're tight. They're not like baggy swim trunks. But it's made of that neoprene material, so they're more buoyant. So it like picks up your legs a little bit more, so you don't go swimming like this through the water.
Yeah, probably makes it a little easier to get through.
Yeah, it'll replicate a little bit more what you would feel like when you're in your wetsuit, and then also give that little bit of assistance to people who are maybe newer to swimming, where you don't quite have that body control yet, where you can get your legs up higher and not lose speed by dragging your feet behind you.
Yeah.
More than you would if you wouldn't have it.
Now,
I don't know if he's used them yet, I
Yeah.
don't know if he's been able to get into a pool since he got them. He sent me a picture of him the other day, which was pretty funny. But um, it was just him in the living room with lava paints on. It's like, what are you doing? I don't need to see that.
Yeah.
Um, but I think he was thinking about doing something similar to that. So whether it's probably not going to happen this year, but with him getting on the bike a little bit more and him still walking and running on and off, definitely a possibility for him to do. Even I think it'd be fun for him to do a sprint. He
Yeah.
could do it tomorrow if he really wanted to. I mean, it's not that far of a distance, and he can bike. I don't know, 12 miles, and then run a 5K. That's something he could do
Very
tomorrow.
doable. Yeah, I actually signed up for a different gym membership. I have a network of like 10,000 gyms through my healthcare now, and so I
Nice.
go to LA Fitness through there, and they have a pool. And I was starting to swim. I did only a couple times in the pool, less than 5, I think. But I got back in the pool late last year, early this year, and did it a few times a month. And I felt good. Felt a little rusty, but I was able to get back and do my flip turns and do all the strokes except for butterfly. I was never good at that one.
You
But
don't need that.
front crawl, breaststroke, backstroke, and the lazy stroke, I guess. Just going across the pool easy. But yeah, it's good to get back in the pool, do something you're not used to doing, and shake off those cobwebs.
That's what you said there is the tough part too about all of it is a lot of people like to focus on what they're good at,
Yeah.
and there's nothing wrong with that. It feels good, it feels easy, it feels quick and fast, and you feel good when you're doing it. But that's not what's going to help you in the long run
Yeah.
for time and for your overall pace. If you're good in swimming, great. But if you're bad in biking, better get your ass on a bike.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where I'm at, where I'm good in swimming, I'm decent at running. I need to put more time on the bike, and I know that, and I don't either because timing or it's not appealing to me. So that's another kind of benefit to being in Zealand. There's a lot of trails over in that way. I'm not really like um, contained or constricted by like the city where like I can't just get on my bike and go where I could because I'm kind of more out in the country. And so hopefully I'll be able to do a little bit more of that where I just get out and ride and not have to worry about high volume traffic areas and getting on an expressway and having to drive to go somewhere to bike.
Sure.
Or I have to do that now. Yeah.
And yeah,
And
just
then
throw some lights on your bike. I always put a flashing light and even in daylight and a front flashing light on my mountain bike or my road bike all the time. And I have one of those vests that flash. I don't wear it all the time, but I usually try to wear something bright, or I'll have the Camelback, which does have the reflective stuff on it. And yeah, I don't love riding in the street, but there's terrible sidewalks around here, and they don't really have what do they call them? Lanes for the traffic. They don't have shoulders that are big. So a lot of times you do have to ride in the street to get to where you want to go. And sometimes it's nerve-wracking, and people do get hit, and it makes me nervous. And then you even have the sewer grates that they just put in that are parallel.
yeah,
They're the same direction as that you're going.
yeah, your bike's gonna get stuck in that front wheel.
So it's like, why would you? Maybe I'm saying the wrong word. Perpendicular? No, parallels, right?
I know what you mean.
Yeah. Like nobody consulted anybody who actually uses this. So you have to go further into traffic.
Yeah.
Put your tire stuck in there. But there's some good places around here. I went to I did ride from my house to 2 laps around Stony and back the other weekend, and then I went from here to Lake St. Clair and back
That's the distance.
without having to drive anywhere. So yeah, it's like 30, 40 miles. I'm not going that fast. I might be going 15 miles an hour average or something. But it's a good amount. It's over 2 hours, and it's like that amount. I feel like I'm ready to get off the bike because I just don't do that long of rides so far.
Yeah.
I think the farthest I've gone is maybe 75-ish, something like that.
How far did you go? What was your longest when you went to? I know you were on your mountain bike for most of it when you went to Florida.
Um, the longest single ride was maybe 50 or 60 miles, but that was broken up. That was like the whole day. I found instead of making 17 little activities throughout the day, I would just pause it and then restart it. So I'd make one ride the whole day because I get on my bike and ride 16 different places throughout the day, and I didn't want to have all these different. Seems kind of ridiculous.
Yeah,
I think that was the one I went to a hockey game. Went
that's
to
what I was thinking. Yeah.
Tampa hockey game, and I don't remember who they played. But it was a fun game. I was cheering for both sides. It was kind of different. I was like, who do I really care about more? I like seeing a good hockey game, and the people next to me are like, who are you rooting for here? You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was fun. I got lunch, and I went across the bridge. I went across 3 different major bridges, and that was so windy. It was like if you for a half a second, you'd be going backwards. It was
Yeah.
ridiculous. And I'm doing all these miles here, and I'm tired, and my GPS is dying on my phone, and I don't know where I'm going, and the wind is blowing so hard, and like I just want to get back. What's the fastest route? And then my
Keep going.
take
Yeah.
me around it wouldn't recognize bike routes. So it would say, you have to go around this way to get back. And I'm like, why would I go 7 miles out of my way when there's a route I could take this way? I'm like looking at it, like I'm not listening to you anymore. I'm just gonna go back to what I think is right. It turned out to be right.
Yeah.
And that's when I wanted to look into that Wahoo bike computer.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Because it was just not good enough, and it was like, okay, I'm going way out of my way here, and it doesn't recognize any of these routes. So it's a really big help. Around here I know most of the places, but there's still times where I go out on a ride and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go this way, this direction, and I'm gonna try to get myself lost a little bit, and then go back a different way, and just go exploring, and you find a major road, and then you know where you're at.
So I had a lot of that in Minnesota because I could ride wherever because we were out in the country roads. 90% of them were all paved, so I could just kind of go out, go south 20, 30 miles, come back up, and could put a ton of miles in on any given day. And so that's kind of what I'm hoping to do now, where I'm living in Grand Rapids, kind of by the airport, everything's like 45-mile-an-hour speed limits, and so it's not quite a residential area. It's more of like an industrial area, and there's semi trucks that don't care if you're there or not. And I've had a bunch of pretty close calls. So when I can, I'll stay on the sidewalk or stay in the bike path. There are some cool areas to ride in town here. There's a lake just north of me that I've ridden around a bunch of times. It's fun. But usually you got to get up and go somewhere to go get there. So that's kind of unfortunate, but I'm hoping there's a lot more options when I get out to Zealand.
Yeah. So. And I was thinking back, struggled to figure out what year it was, maybe 2011. I actually did a triathlon. I did an indoor triathlon at Oakland.
Oh, you did? Yeah.
It was a timed event. You just did stationary bike, pedal on the bike for so often, so much time, and then you run a certain time frame, and then you swim for a certain time frame. I didn't have to look up my results. I have no idea. That was 9 years ago.
That'd be kind of fun, yeah.
But so I am a triathlete, if you can count that. It's kind of like a half-assed one, but that was fun. I liked it. I would like to do the sprint and the Olympic distances. That was my plan this year, was to do those. I was going to do the 10 rounds of the MMBA CPS and Michigan Mountain Biking Championship. I was going to do the sprint. Maybe the Olympic was the idea. And maybe sprinkle in some road biking races, some road cycling. They do those Grattan Wednesdays, which I don't know if they're going to be going on later in the year, but I'd like to get out there. I'm not competitive on a road bicycle, but it'd be fun to go out there. And I have been doing up to 100 miles a week sometimes, so I'm not completely dead. I can do it. I just won't be in the main pack probably.
Yeah, I haven't heard about what they're doing with Grattan. I'm assuming that they won't until things start opening up, which it looks like next week. Next week things are starting opening up a little bit more. So we'll see. But yeah, if I hear anything, I'll certainly let you know. I know there's a ton of races out here. There's a ton of tries with all sorts of different distances. I could probably name you 5 right now that would do all at least sprint and Olympic. So I know there's lots of events out this way. I don't know too much of what's available in like the Detroit area or where you are.
Yeah, I can look into those.
But I'm sure there are some too. I'm sure there's something over at Stony.
Yeah, pretty cool. I don't have a wetsuit. Is it mandatory to wear a wetsuit now?
No, like I said, the first one I did, I didn't have one just because it wasn't in the mail yet. You can order them, and some places, some events will allow you to rent one for the day if you really wanted to. But for like a sprint or Olympic, how much time you're really going to save by wearing a wetsuit? It's more like you're looking the part, or you're feeling good about it. Some people won't wear like a top; they'll just wear like the bottoms, like swim shorts or tri-suit bottoms, and then like put your dry top on after you've finished the swim, so you have something that's not soaking wet. Some people will still wear their top of the kit. The only thing you got to think about too is with the kits, they have like pockets in the back, and so mine were kind of acting as like little water bags. So you're swimming, and the bag, I could feel the pockets on my tri-suit fill it up as I was swimming. I'm like, this is probably a bad idea.
It's slowing you down, maybe a little drag somehow. What's your suit though? So it may be just internally sloshing around.
Yeah, the fabric is pretty porous, so it wasn't like it was sticking in there, but it's on my back. I could feel it, but that first swim, and I've swam forever, but I had a panic attack on the first swim, and it was mostly because I'm all warm, I'm all hopped up, you got the adrenaline going through you, and then immediately I hit cold water, and you're swimming with, we were going off in waves, and it was a smaller race, but there was maybe 30 other guys there with me, and I let them go ahead because I didn't want to feel like I was trapped or whatever, but I still had a panic attack because you go from that warm body adrenaline to very cold water, and your body goes into shock.
Oh yeah.
And that's exactly what happened. And like, I'm a strong swimmer. I'm having to doggy paddle / breaststroke above water because I'm having a panic attack. It's like, just calm down. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
This isn't something you haven't done before. It's just swimming.
And it's also you're racing.
Then you can keep going. Yeah.
You're holy crap! I'm racing now.
Yeah. So that certainly freaks me out. But the one thing that I've learned is to get your body cooled down, get in the water. Even before the race starts, you usually have like a period of time where you can get in the water and make sure your stuff works if you want to. But it's time for you really to cool your body down and get your body acclimated to that. So you jump in that water first thing in the morning. It's not like a cold rush, even if you have a wetsuit on.
Yeah. There's so many just arms and legs flying when you're doing that. I'm sure it's very tight quarters, and people don't always care about not hitting you with their arms. It's probably a little brutal at the start of those.
Yeah. So I'm not usually in the scrum. I usually try and find my own space. So I maybe take off a little bit faster, or like get a little bit farther off of the buoy line to try and find my own space, so I don't have to deal with getting punched in the back of the head by somebody who doesn't care.
Now, do you think it's malicious, or it's just it kind of happens because of the situation?
It happens. You're that close. No one's trying to do that to you.
It's not like hockey where you're trying to like get.
No, you're not gonna punch somebody just because they're there. There are probably people that don't care if you're in their way, and they'll do whatever. But for the most part, you'll accidentally hit somebody or not realize it, and just try and find your own space. Nobody's intentionally doing it, as far as I know. And if you are, then go to hell. That's not what we're there for.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's it's definitely an experience you don't get anywhere else.
Yeah, that makes me a little nervous about it, but I mean, there's only maybe a minute of that. That's
Yeah, it looks bad, but I've never been in that scrum. I don't want to be. So if everybody's in one area and everybody seems to clump closest to the buoy line, once you get in the water, the buoys are so spread out that people are just going to do this anyways. So you're going to have to find your own line, whether it's 10 feet off the line or like right on it. You're really not gaining much time.
right. And you have there's no line to look at on the
No,
that helps
no,
you.
no, no. There's no lane lines. There's no lane lines. So they ask you to stay outside the buoy line just because they can try and corral people the best and they can keep an eye on people the best that way. But let people go. Let them go. It's not gonna make your race. It's probably gonna make your race worse if you try and fight through it than if you do your own race. And yeah, the gun goes off. The time starts in the water, but just find your own lines. Stay to the one side, and then maybe find somebody's feet that are swimming the same speed as you, and just kind of focus on that.
Yeah.
Make sure they don't take you way off to the side.
And I think you've got a little bit of an advantage with doing some of those polar plunges you've done. That's like rips right the Band-Aid off.
Yeah, that's in and out. That's holy crap. Why did I just do that kind of thing? Yeah, those are fun.
Yeah, and you've done a couple of those now.
I think I did it 3 years in a row.
It was a charity event.
Yeah, it was a fundraiser for Minnesota Special Olympics. So
you're trying to convince other people to do it too.
Yeah, I somehow found 10 people at least every year to go do it with.
Hey,
that was me.
Yeah, all good. So I'm sorry, we were saying you did the polar plunge and you did a couple of years. It was a charity event.
Oh yeah. So I somehow had found 10 people every year to do it with me. I don't know how I convinced 10 people. I tried to get my bosses and stuff to do it. It was through my old business, old work that I was at in Davisco in Agapure. But it was more of like a event where you would all go out. It's like a team building thing and go jump in some cold water. And it was stupid when we go out to the bar and go get some food and just have a good time. So
were your wetsuit for that?
No.
No wetsuit?
No wetsuit. No wetsuit. It was early February, end of January
in Minnesota, which is like 30 below.
It felt like it sometimes. We actually had some decent weather where it was like close to freezing, but not quite.
Yeah.
So that's good weather. That was
I remember
good weather.
you sent me pictures where you're stuck inside your house where you can't. You open the garage and it's 3 feet of snow.
Yep. Yeah. So I had multiple times where I had gotten snowed in, where I have one entrance and exit for my apartment, and it was a screen door. And so I had to like shimmy the door open and like pound it out slowly so it would open out. And then there were multiple times where I had to come in from work and the snow was waist high, blowing up. I mean, it wasn't that deep everywhere else, but it was waist high on the corner of the door. So there's no way I could open it unless I shovel it out. And my dog's on the inside, knowing I'm there. I can't get out.
Barking.
She wants to come out, and the second she jumps in, she's like, it's like above her head.
You gotta make a path for it just to poop.
We've done that. We've done that.
Yeah. Oh man. Do you miss all that snow? I mean, you're in Michigan now, but there's got to be some good skiing out there. Good snow sport.
The snow is maybe comparable.
West Michigan.
To West Michigan. It's pretty similar. It's probably colder than it was, or colder in Minnesota than it was here.
Get the lake where you are.
But not by much. I mean, you're maybe talking 10 degrees.
Yeah.
But snow is probably pretty similar. We had some good snows there, and then we had some winters where we really didn't.
Yeah.
I remember having some crazy blizzards where everything kind of came down at once, and and I had to wear goggles to walk outside because I couldn't see 10 feet in front of me. But I've
Yeah.
also had to do that here, so
It does happen.
that's that's cool. Didn't really get that last winter here. It was pretty mild, except for like 1 week where it was uh, stupid cold below zero, where they closed everything for like a week.
Yeah. Yeah, and then it snowed into May. Kind of goofy all over.
Yeah.
And now it's beautiful. I hope to get out here today and do some riding, maybe do a longer one. Um, it said 90 degrees on my little thermostat the day.
Yeah, it's 80 right now here. So no, it's been great the last couple days, and unfortunately, just the way that my schedule's worked, it seems like every weekend that I have off, uh, it's been nasty and cold and rainy and dreary,
Yeah.
and now we actually have a good weekend for once, which is nice. So yeah, I'll probably go out and do something today, and I'm planning to go to Saugatuck tomorrow and just kind of run around the trails. So I don't know what I'm gonna do today, but figure something out.
Okay. Yeah. Um, and you were doing Orange Theory for quite a while, a couple times a month, a couple times a week, maybe.
Yeah, I was doing the what plan did they have? It was like a 4-pack. No, I was doing like maybe eight. It was an 8-pack. It was like twice a week. So even on my long weeks, I could go in and do it Wednesday, Thursday. And it was a nice wrench in my training schedule, or something that I don't normally do is high intensity training. So I go out and do sprints on the treadmill, and then rowing, which I really liked, and then body weight stuff, which I'm kind of doing now. So kind of incorporating a little bit of that with the tools that I have here at my apartment. But I really liked it. I don't know. I probably won't, at least not right away when things start back up. Go back. I think I still have a couple credits. Just when kind of everything started to shut down, I still had some available. So probably wait for things to kind of die down a little bit more to go back into like a gym setting.
Yeah.
There's no reason for me to really do that with the tools that I have right now and what I need from it. But it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. I think my favorite part was the rower. So I think maybe down the line that might be a next tool in my toolbox to go put in my new house.
Yeah, for sure. It's I think good all around. It's a whole body workout. It's cardio, it's strength building, it's stamina. It's tough.
So yeah, I think that was my favorite part. And they had a lot of like individual challenges. So they had like like running challenges where you had to reach a certain milestone by a certain time, or how fast can you go, or how far can you get in 12 minutes or 6 minutes. And so you're basically challenging yourself, or you're pacing against yourself what you've done before, and well, I've gone this far before, maybe I can get 0.1 farther or 0.2 farther, or just a little bit more. Same thing on the rower, where how fast can you get 1,200 meters, or how fast can you get to 3,000? And we did a couple of those where I was really doing well with it. It was tough, but it was fun. So I think that's something that I might want to invest in. But we got some time before anything like that happens. But yeah, it was fun. It was really fun. There's one kind of around the corner from me right now, and there'd be one in Holland if I did want to go do that, where it wouldn't be 5-10 minutes to go get there. So
Not bad.
wouldn't be out of the question if I wanted to go back.
Yeah.
It was certainly fun.
And the cool thing about Orange Theory, their whole business model is you wear like a fitness tracker, a heart rate monitor, and they have the heart rate zones. You have 5 different heart rate zones, and orange and red being 4th and 5th. So if you're in those 2 zones, the idea is that you get a more intense, more pinpointed, focused cardio workout that is supposed to help you out with your sprints and maybe even some of your endurance work for clearing out those cobwebs. It's, how long can you sustain that type of intense workout?
The reason why it was such a wrench in my program is I don't normally stay in those areas.
Yeah.
If you're redlining the whole time, you're not going to get very far in your run.
Yeah.
So I've been trying to run and I haven't been running a whole lot, so it's kind of hard to do it. But to have a lower heart rate for a consistent period of time, eventually your body gets able to run at that certain pace with that certain heart rate, and you can run maybe a little bit faster, and that's how you gain speed. You don't gain speed. I mean, you can gain speed by going all out, but that's for short periods of time where your body can handle that. If you're going for longer, you're looking for lower heart rate, quicker pace to sustain that for longer periods of time. So when I'm training, I'm usually in like for this analogy, it's like 1 through 5, where 1's resting. I'm usually in that 2 or 3 range on the cardio scale to try and sustain that for longer periods of time. And so that was a big change in what I was doing, because I don't normally do that half hour to an hour of high intensity, you're going the whole time kind of thing. It's more of sustained endurance training, but it did help. And I don't know, because I hadn't done a whole lot of training coming up to the Whistler Ironman that I had in the past. I just couldn't find the time for it. I do think it helped in the long run, just sustaining that kind of fitness, even when I wasn't putting the miles on the bike or the run as much as I was in the past. Certainly helped.
For sure. And so
Get me there, yeah.
Yeah. So you would say that your training program is more of like a heart rate based training program. I mean, I don't know what to define them as, but.
So there's a method out there that I'm trying to stick to, but it's kind of hard to do it sometimes, just mentally. Maffetone method, MAF. So the theory is, when you run or bike or swim for extended periods of time, your body can only metabolize so much, and if you're above a certain heart rate, your body's working to burn off different energy sources than you are when you're in a lower heart rate setting. So you're either anaerobic or you're aerobic. When you're near the lower heart rate, you can sustain that for longer periods of time, and your body can metabolize fat instead of sugars, which you can't replace and can be depleted pretty quick. So you're running at lower heart rates, you're running at lower paces, your body can sustain that for longer periods of time. So there's a theoretical, and it's not, 100%, but there's a theoretical equation where you take your age and subtract 180. You take 180 and subtract that from your age. So if you're 30, your heart rate would be 150 would be your target. And there's different calculations, whether you've been doing things for an extended period of time, or you've been sick, or so you'd add or subtract time depending on that if you've been doing it for a while. So right now I'm usually right around 160. Okay. But I'm trying to drop that down a little bit more, which means I run slower, but it doesn't always feel good. But once you,
you're pushing.
Yeah. Yeah. So once you sustain that for a certain period of time, your body's able to adapt and make it easier, and then you can maybe push that 1% more, that 2% more, and go a little bit faster while keeping your heart rate there, and you're not redlining. So that's theoretically how you build speed over the long term. You build up your cardio and your anabolic motor internally to be able to do that better. So when you're doing endurance races, unless you're really going for it, my heart rate's not on 180 beats per minute, because I'm not going to make it very far.
Sure, you have to stay at what you trained at.
Those people that do 100-mile races, I can guarantee you, are not redlining the whole time.
Yeah.
You're going to be in the hospital if you are.
Yeah, you're just not going to finish.
Or you got something wrong, yeah. So
now, is there any legal supplements that you can take other than the banned EPO, bloodletting or whatever it is? Is there anything you can take to help out with your endurance like that, other than like a protein kind of thing or strength?
There's millions of supplements out there. I don't really take a whole lot. I got a multivitamin, which is fancy. And then I still use like my old company made Bipro, so a whey protein isolate. It's 99% pure. There's like no additives in it. There's no extra sugars. There's no all these things that you can read on the side of a container where it's got millions of different additives and who knows really what's in there. I mean, I made this stuff, so I know what's in it.
Yeah, the whole process.
So they've got like different flavorings, but that's really the only extra thing other than whey protein that's in it. So that's kind of what I take for my protein. But there's something that I kind of picked up a little bit ago, and I've been taking it on and off. And when I take it for a consistent period of time, I can kind of see a little bit of difference, and it is to try and help out your heart rate a little bit. Alt Red. It's kind of a newer product that's come up within the last, I want to say 5-10 years. There's people, at least in the triathlon community, that I know that have been taking it all the way up to like people at Racing Kona and professionals that could take it. So it's a beat. It's a beat. Let's get some product placement here. Give me a second.
Yeah.
So it's a beet supplement. And there's a lot of different things out there that are similar, but it's just a little mini tablet or pill. So you just swallow it and take it with your liquids, and like once every hour, once every 2 hours. So I don't know if you can see that.
Okay, yeah.
It's called Alt Red by Sir. But I found it when I was out in Lake Placid, and one of the people who were selling it at one of the booths was actually from the Grand Rapids area. So it was kind of cool to connect with somebody that was way out in New York.
Yeah.
With a certain product, and I've seen them all over.
Small world.
It's 100% legal. There's nothing really in it. It's mostly made from beets. So there's been scientific study that it can help out your heart rate and your blood flow, and that's really all it is. There's no drugs or anything special in it to do anything for you. And really, I mean, if you're doing stuff like that, who are you kidding? You're just trying to cheat the system to do what? You're in an age group. You're trying to what are you trying to accomplish?
Yeah. It's for bragging rights, but yeah, it's not right. You're cheating yourself, if anything. And it's like, where do you draw the line? Caffeine's a supplement. You can say nicotine's a supplement. They're stimulants, but
yeah,
you gotta draw the line at where it's dangerous for the competitors. If everybody starts injecting themselves with this material, that's a hazard. You don't want the whole population of people to get. I think they're starting to have heart attacks back in the day, and that's obviously bad for everybody.
They are now, and it's scary to think about it, but it's a real part of the activity. And there have been multiple individuals in races that I've been in Ironman events that I've been in, where somebody doesn't make it out of the swim, where somebody didn't make it off the bike. And maybe there was absolutely nothing wrong with them, but there are situations where maybe people get themselves in a little bit more over their head than they've been trained to. Maybe somebody has a panic attack. Maybe if somebody has a medical event where it was something that they knew, or maybe something that they didn't. Or if you don't have, your heart can't stand it, and you've been doing it for this long, it could have just been the straw on the camel's back. But Boulder 2016, we had somebody that decided to go outside of the cones on the bike course and didn't look behind him and was hit by a car. Oh. There was somebody who I believe it might have been the Wisconsin one, who didn't make it out of the water recently. So it happens. And I mean, you could be the strongest swimmer, you could be the best biker, you could be the best runner, but the second you don't pay attention, bad things can happen. So I mean, it doesn't matter what distance you're doing it. It doesn't matter what event you're doing. You could have a bad crash in a bike, and you could be biking since you were 2 years old. Got to wear a helmet, got to protect yourself, got to be aware of your surroundings because you never know what can happen. So just because you're in an event doesn't mean you're safe either.
Yeah.
And I think people kind of take that for granted. But you're in an endurance event and anything can happen. So, yeah. And it's tough on your body. It's not an easy thing.
You don't want those guys to fall and hurt themselves, but it's nice when they get out because then you can kind of get ahead. Although in that way, but it's just going to happen. You know, there's a certain percentage of every race, it seems, that there's going to be some people who crash out or some people who have mechanicals. And unfortunately, in those long endurance races, some people who just don't make it.
I've seen the bad end of some bad bike crashes, but I've never actually seen one happen.
Yeah.
Remember coming up on some aid stations where someone's like holding the fork of their bike, and, like the rest of it's missing. Like I don't know how that happened, but like you're missing half of your bike. Couldn't have been good, and there's 3 other people on the side of the road. Something happened there. This last one, when I went to Whistler, was coming out of the bike. There was a little bit of coming out, starting the bike out of the run, out of the swim. There was a little bit of a hill climb, and then you kind of went down for the first little 1 to 2 miles trying to get out of town. And somebody either hit a speed bump or a water bottle and skid and took out somebody else that was next to them.
Yeah.
And their race is done. Their collarbone's broken. You're done. You can't continue. I mean, you can't put even pressure on it. Some people I've seen finish runs with broken bones and stuff where they had some bad event on the bike, but beginning of that on that course, you're done. You're done. It's just wrong place, wrong time.
Yeah.
So I've been lucky enough so far to not have any of that. I'm sure it's only a matter of time before something happens. That's one of my main concerns, where my bike fails me or part of me fails me, and there's really nothing that you can do about that. You try and make sure your chain's good, make sure all your wheels and your tires and your tubes and you got everything there to support yourself. But at the end of the day, it's kind of, you don't know.
Yeah. And I'm definitely a big advocate for the mountain bike stuff, not only for being in the terrain, but I think it's very helpful for learning how to navigate. And sometimes there might be a crash in front of you, and if you know how to get out of that situation, know how to control your bike and have all your faculties, you know, you're braking down and understand some of the ways how to get out of it, can really help you in some situations. Or even just not crashing, going around a downhill section that's off camber. It's got a left-hand turn and it's been raining, and you know, how do you take this turn? You don't want to take it at 13 miles an hour. You know, how do you get it around it safely and not hit?
Get tricky.
And lean off the bike so that the bike's still upright. You know, picking the
plenty of hairy situations where I've been white knuckling it, trying to figure out how I'm going to finish this.
Tight, yeah. And there's been so many times I could not count how many times riders, mostly at the racetrack, not so much in a little bit in mountain biking, but way more in motorcycle racing, where people crash right in front of you. And it's your job not to hit them, not to run them over. But the good thing about that is almost every single time they go to the crash zone, they go to the outside of the corners. And I was always taught, don't worry about it. Like, do your thing, ride your ride. You might want to tighten up a little bit if that's possible, but don't slam on the brakes. Don't grab a handful of brakes or
hit people behind you. Yeah.
You should just do what you're normally doing. If you can tighten up a little bit, fine, but don't let off the gas, you know. And 9 times out of 10, they will slide away from you. There's one time I was ran over a guy's hand. It looked like it was maybe a foot away. It was really close, or even closer than that, it felt like. But I just kept on my line. I didn't panic, and you know, he went to the side of the road, and he was fine, just low side. But if I would have panicked or stood the bike up, I would have ran him over, you know. So there's a lot of things you learn like from different disciplines have helped me. Motorcycle racing has helped me mountain bike race, has helped me foot race,
Yeah.
which will help me triathlon race. And I guess one of the reasons I gravitate to triathlon is not so much because I love triathlon, but because I know that being a triathlete at the longer distances rather than just the timed event that I did would help me for the other stuff. It would help me get through the other things easier.
Right.
It'd be
It's more of a mental game.
yeah, it's another aspect of it that I haven't explored yet.
And if you're not good at one thing, I mean, you can be bad at three. So
Yeah.
it's there.
Yeah. So I just need a better engine. I need my engine isn't so good yet for triathlon. I'd like to get
It's not always, I mean, the equipment helps, but I mean, I've seen people complete events on a fat tire bike.
Oh yeah.
So, and they go past people. So
Yeah.
it doesn't matter what the equipment you have. You can have a fixie. I've seen it happen where somebody rides a fixie for the whole race, or a fat tire bike or a mountain bike. If it works for you, use it. You got a road bike, who cares? Use it. You don't need a tri bike. You don't need a wetsuit. You don't need specialty running gear. You don't need a kit.
Yeah.
Whatever you got works. Make it work.
Brung what you brung. I think that my bike, I have the Trek Madone. That's a pretty good bike. I mean, it's not.
Oh, yeah.
I don't have the skis. It would be nice, I think, to actually be in this position with the front. What do you call them? Skis or what do you?
Aero bars.
Aero bars. I think it's nice sometimes. Not on the technical turns. Like if I was on Clinton River Trail, I would not be in the skis for very long. I would be on the sides. But if it's straight for 17 miles, I think because I see myself a lot of the time trying to get lower, and that's just easy kind of a resting spot.
I mean, you can do that one or two ways. You can do that through the hoods, the little loops, the drops. So instead of being up on the hoods where your brakes are, you can kind of be a little bit lower and drop yourself down to 3 or 4 inches. So then that works just fine. They also have not clip-on, but they're attachable bars that can go out from the middle of your handlebar that you can attach to your bike if you wanted that on there and you wanted to ride your road bike, you could do that. Really, the only discernible difference in road bikes versus tri bikes is most of the time the seat posts can be more fixed than not, and it's usually higher than it is for road bikes, just to get you more in that more horizontal position with you on your bike.
For aero.
And you don't always need it. There's plenty of times, like I said, where I'm on my hoods, I'm on the handlebars instead of being in the drops or the aero position. You don't need it 100% of the time. And how much? I mean, you're only going to make up so much time doing that. So yeah, you can kind of make yourself small if you're in feel like you're in a wind tunnel and you're just getting blown back. But then other times, maybe you want to conserve a little bit more energy and you don't do that. So you don't need it all of the time. I just maybe in it 50%, maybe when I'm doing it, which you could be in it the whole time, but I don't have that engine or that gear to be able to do that or need to do that for the whole time.
Yeah.
I want to get better at it, so that's something that I can certainly do, but you could do the whole thing on your road bike and be just fine.
Yeah, I think other than that, just maybe a wetsuit if needed. It'd be nice to get one, I guess, because of maybe sometimes lakes are really cold in the mornings when they start them. So other than that, a few $100 and a race entry fee, I'm good to go.
But it's whatever you feel comfortable with is probably the best.
Yeah.
They do rent them in some areas, but you can get a good wetsuit for a pretty decent price.
I remember we had them as kids. We'd use them at like Cleveland's house when we go up there on vacation in northern Canada.
Yeah.
What part of Canada was that? I can't remember the name of it. Georgian Bay, was it?
Muskoka.
Ontario, maybe?
Way north of Ontario, but yeah. It was like a 5-hour drive. Yeah, it was Muskoka. It was a chain of lakes, yeah.
Had those.
They had an Ironman event up there And that was one I wanted to do, but for whatever reason, that was one that maybe didn't get enough draw, and they canceled it or didn't continue on with it. They still have the half, I think, which would be fun. But I don't think they do the full anymore.
Okay, yeah, they just started the Moto America racing, the Modified Sport Bikes Professional Championship. They started that last weekend. They did it in Road America, Wisconsin, with no fans. It was the first event they've ever had with no fans, so it was very different. Nobody in the stands, no umbrella girls, no
Well, everyone's already got face shields, so I know what else.
Yeah,
I mean, what else do you want?
just the crew. It was very bare minimum crew. No promotional staff there. Very limited camera crews. No photographers, I think. Only the series promoters. So it was very different to see that. But they're also going back there in a couple of weeks to do the same event with fans. So it'll be different. They've never gone back to back at the same circuit before. So now everybody's been there. They know the track. They know the layout. They know where everybody's fast. So everybody's going to be faster as long as it doesn't rain or something. Everybody's going to be breaking track records this time around. They're just there at a pro event. That'll be interesting to see.
Yeah.
I'm not sure when my racing is going to start again. They said sometime after this month, they're going to reassess. But sometimes there could be 1,000 people at these events. So it might be just like yours, or I don't know when it's going to happen again.
Yeah. The 3 or 4 of my races have already been canceled or postponed that I was planning on doing this year. The one still in September, the Dirty Mitten's still technically on. But they've pushed, like the Riverbank run that I was going to do, I think it got pushed from May to October. So that's tentatively still on for October.
Yeah.
But then all the other ones, I was going to do the half with Gary.
Oh, yeah.
That got flat out canceled and got pushed to next year. And the Grand Rapids Try, they were going to do like a virtual one where you could do like all 3 in a row and then like post your time and get like a finisher stuff.
Okay.
If you wanted to, but they're pushing that to next year too. So there's a lot of things that were like earlier on in the season that are certainly getting canceled, but there are also some that got pushed back. I know the Boston Marathon got flat out canceled after it was being pushed back. So that's one that's been run for 100 plus years that now won't have a run this year. California, yeah, they're really strict on reopening things, so I don't anticipate that happening. But it's kind of state by state right now, which I wish it was more consistent. But with it being in the state's hands, it's kind of hard to do that across the board.
Yeah, and we're doing this virtual right now. It would have been great to have you in person, but I think you said that you had some house stuff going on and, staying with Lily and all that. But you were also talking about maybe some workplace restrictions on travel.
Yeah, so we still have checkpoints that we have to come in through every day, and they do a temperature screening, and they ask us some questions about are you experiencing any symptoms, and then where have you traveled, or have you been with somebody who's been traveling in the past week or so, and then the hot spots. So I know Metro Detroit at the very beginning was a very big concern, mostly because it was right around the airport, and that was a big international hub, and I believe a lot of people came into that area. And so even Indiana, we had somebody travel to Indiana a week or so ago in Illinois, and they were quarantined for 2 weeks before they could come back. So trying to limit the amount of exposure and potential impact from people that you're working with, visits or sees. Detroit Metro was certainly on the list. New York, being a hotspot, was on the list. There were a couple others that were big that people were concerned about going to and then coming back, or visiting somebody and then coming back and bringing that. And now you've just infected your whole workplace. So if you've been traveling to some of those areas, they would also ask you, even if you're not showing symptoms, to either get tested, which is hard to do if you're not showing any kind of symptoms, because they want to save those for people who actually need it, to confirm that that's exactly what it is. Just trying to keep the plant as safe as possible. We've had We did have 2 instances almost back to back of 2 separate workers at our plant testing positive for the virus. That was maybe a month ago. We shut the plant down both times and cleaned when we found out. So we did a deep clean of the whole area. But no one else has tested positive, which is good. We've had a couple, we've had to turn around a handful of people either coming in sick or coming in with coughing or sneezing symptoms, which could be anything from allergies to common cold to influenza, because that's also something that kind of patterns itself close to COVID. And so all of those people have been able to come back within a certain period of time once they stop showing symptoms. But we've been lucky enough to be able to continue working, and pretty much whatever we make is already sold. We can't keep the infant formula on the shelf at all. So we're finally starting to catch up to that kind of demand and be able to actually stock the shelves instead of just filling them because they're empty. So I guess that's a good thing where we're trying to help out as much as we can and feed babies, because
It's important.
they need it.
And it probably feels good to be considered essential. You know, that's it's important, and you're still working and still making money.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a lot of people who aren't in such a good situation where it's the servers or the bartenders, and it's really tough. And you know, that $1,200 check is really nice, but how long does that last for?
It's a one-time thing. Yeah, it's a tough thing to get around, and I mean everybody's essential in some way, shape, or form, and I think we're seeing that now. But just because you're labeled one thing doesn't mean that you're not, or you are. I mean, in the long scope of things, I mean, if we didn't make infant formula, the world wouldn't end. If a lot of the jobs that we have now that are considered essential weren't around, world wouldn't end. Yeah, it'd be a little bit more difficult to be other things, but it's nice to be considered critical manufacturing for at least the state of Michigan, where we can at least keep something going, keep people working as much as they can, and be safe doing it. We've been required to wear masks on site. So anytime I'm at work, anytime I leave the house, I've got a cloth mask, or I've got a medical mask that we use at work, or if we're in confined spaces, or we're working with somebody else, just to try and eliminate that potential for droplets to be on and contaminate somebody else. Because you have to act like you have it.
Right.
And the second that you don't, you not only invite the potential for you to spread it to somebody else, but for them to spread it to you. And so even if you don't experience symptoms or you don't feel like you're sick, you have to act like you are, because you could be not showing symptoms and have it and not know it. And so I would like to know if I've had it, but there's really no way to know unless you get tested. And that's not a good time to do it right now.
Right. It'd be nice if the testing, I think that's a big failure, is the testing. Because if everybody knew, then everybody could go back to work who was safe, and everybody who wasn't would be quarantined and be over in 2 weeks. Right. But
the other side to that is, I guess I don't know how safe you would be if you get it once, because I believe there are a couple different strains out there. It maybe gives you maybe a little bit of an immunity to catching it again, but maybe to a different strain you could still get it. So I'm interested to know if how protected you would be if you had it, and maybe it would give people a false sense of security, which I think sometimes the masks do, because the cloth masks don't do much of anything other than be like a splash guard.
Right.
They're not going to protect you from anything, but they are going to protect you from somebody coughing or sneezing or being around you. That's going to be more contained than it would be if you didn't have anything there. So it's mostly like a sneeze guard for your face.
And really, even those N95 masks, those are disposable, one-time use masks. Those are not meant to be reused. So now you're using it for what? A couple weeks? I have no idea how long people are using them for. But that's also now a petri dish. Every time you breathe out, it's now bacteria that you're breathing out. So now you're breathing in the same bacteria you had spewed out a couple weeks ago. That's now morphed and changed, and now you're breathing that back in. Right?
So I think they're a good thing to an extent. I think they have a use, but I do think they provide people with an opportunity to maybe do things that they wouldn't be doing if they didn't have a mask. So there are good sides to it and there are bad sides to it, but I think the good outweighs the bad, at least for now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough. I think everything is starting to open back up. On the way home from work on Friday, it was the most amount of cars that I've seen on the road in a long time. So I think Monday is supposed to be the new date that they're opening up again. It was, I think, the 12th.
Yeah.
Now it's
Yeah.
going to be Monday.
I saw 15th for Grand Rapids. But yeah, it's just something that I'm not quite sure about, whether or not we're going too quick with it, or I guess we'll find out soon. But a lot of things going on right now. We got a couple pandemics out there,
Yeah.
and how it all fits together, I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, and I don't think anybody had race riots for June. I don't think that was on the agenda or in anybody's. Maybe it was in some people's mind. I don't know. It wasn't in the top of my mind. Police brutality. I was just scrolling through Instagram and just seeing post after post after post on this one guy's feed of recent events in the United States of like old guys getting pushed over with a cane and knocking their head on the ground.
That yesterday? Yeah, I think I saw that too.
I don't know when it was, but it's like, what is going on here? Maybe they're in the wrong area that they're, I don't know why. There was not a lot of context in that video, but it's like, what's happening here?
Yeah, it's it's a tough spot for everybody to be in. I don't pretend to know or feel like I know anything that the Black community has gone through, but I completely understand the hardships and everything that has happened through time. Unfortunately, I feel like we're in a culture where everybody's in on the thoughts and prayers mentality, where how many events and different things have we gone through where it gets huge amounts of attention for a short period of time, and then COVID is now second page on the newspaper.
Yeah.
Like, who saw that coming? Like, where, like, what, January was brush fires in Australia? Do you remember that?
What about those?
Like, we went from one thing to another.
Yeah,
and it's what's next, and how many gun violence issues and school shootings have we had where thoughts and prayers are going to solve it, and then we go ahead and do it again. So I think this time's a little bit different, where there's enough turmoil and protesting and coverage on it that I think something will happen. Unfortunately, we have to be holding those in power accountable. And until that happens, I don't really see a whole lot changing. But I mean, we voted these people into power, and so we have to hold them accountable, whether it's through protests or through different avenues. But until the people in power that control what rules and laws and how everything gets pushed through the system, that has to change before anything else changes. And we're going to have an opportunity here in a couple months to be able to do that. And so I hope people see the path that we've been going down and make those adjustments and make your voice heard. And the only way that we can do that, other than protests or voting, and hopefully that changes. We need to hold people accountable, and that's one way that you can certainly hold people accountable, is just get them out.
Yeah, for sure. And I find it really difficult, though, because there's, at least right now, there's no one candidate that agrees with my viewpoints on everything. There's so many instances, whether it's climate change or whether it's international foreign policy or whether it's economics and business, or there's just so many situations, or abortion, or all these different things that really matter to a lot of people. And they're kind of all over the place. They don't have one unified view on all these things. And I also don't want a grandpa for a president who's 70-something years old. I think that's can we get a new deck here?
But that's the same thing that we're getting at, where we voted those people into power. We voted those grandpas, as you said, into positions where now they can do that. We had younger people in running that Buttigieg that was in the running, that was a younger up and coming Indiana, but he was an individual who was progressive and gay, and people weren't attracted to that as much as they were something that they've known before. But I completely understand where you're coming from, where we've got these newer people that are coming up that aren't really getting that chance. But we're putting these people into power by voting them in, and so they wouldn't get that chance if people hadn't done that. Right. But yeah, it's a tough position to be in. I don't think that it's people tend to vote by party, and I don't see it as that. I see if they fall into your belief system or your categories or things that you want to see happen. Shouldn't matter whether it's right or left, red or blue. And too often it's political, and too often it's this is right and this is wrong because they are this side of the aisle or that side of the aisle. And how many times do you see things get shot down because it's a party decision or they don't want to go against one person or another? And I think that's completely irresponsible, because it shouldn't be what the party believes in. It should be what the people believe in. It should be what the individuals believe in. And that's why we voted that way. But you see how many times people go back on what they initially had said, or what they campaigned on, and now you flip-flopped, and now what happened? Yeah. So I get that your beliefs can change, and that means you're growing as a person. But if it changes because somebody said you had to do this, or lobbyists behind the scenes are giving you money to say this or promote this, that doesn't help anybody.
No, I think there shouldn't be any money in politics. Like, I just saw there was a big scandal in my city of a whole bunch of people and the trash company are all going under in this investigation because they're all taking bribes for work or saying we're not going to give you this permit or this contract. And I'm sure that's so pervasive in so many different levels of business and government that it happens all the time. And now maybe that cameras are out more often and people are picking up audio. Who knows how they're finding out, but they're being exposed, and you can't have that in politics where you have these situations where money is controlling what's happening in our economies and our global markets, and it's not the way to do things. It's not democratic in that aspect.
Well, even one of the most recent things, and somebody that we both know that did a really, really cool thing, Katie Fahey.
Oh yeah.
Helped create the movement against gerrymandering, where people will do just that, where they will rig districts in order to get the votes that they want.
Drawing their own
and redistricting, and it's not just Michigan, but it's all over the U.S. where people will do that. And so Michigan was passing laws to have like the citizens draw the county lines to make sure that doesn't happen, so they don't rig elections and votes for certain locations and counties. But there's a documentary out now that says just that, and how corrupt all that is, and how people were getting votes just because they had drawn a county here and then went up around the corner to get these people that were also in that same voting strategy. It's like Slay the Dragon, I think it's called.
Movie title, Slay the Dragon.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, I saw the trailer for that. I don't think I actually sat down and watched the whole thing. I'd like to see that and bring that back.
But it's cool to see somebody that you know actually doing something. And I think with these protests, it's going to take more than protests. It's going to be, you've made your voice heard more than it ever has been. Things need to change, but it's going to be taking people actually making actions to to make something change. You can say whatever you want on social media. I mean, that's great, fine and dandy. Get your voice out there. You can get your opinions out there. You can show what you support, but you actually have to support it. And you have to actually do that in everyday life, whether it's with the people that you work with, or your relatives, or your family, or your neighbors down the street. You have to be able to do that in everyday life. And unless that happens, social media isn't going to matter.
Right.
It can help. It can start something. It can help kind of facilitate that. But unless people as a whole and by large make changes, thoughts and prayers aren't going to do much.
Yeah, and you have to hold those officers responsible for those actions, and everybody who is in that squad didn't stop the situation and can say, "Hey, man, that's enough," you know.
Like, yeah, it's unfortunately common sense and common decency and equality for all, and we don't have that. And I would be wrong to say that I haven't had any kind of white privilege. I mean, I haven't had a hardship that I've had to go around. There have been plenty of things that I'm sure that I have gotten or have the ability to achieve because I am the way that I am. I'm never gonna know that side of things where you have to work 200% to get the same amount that a white male would get. And so I understand that that's there, and that's underlying in pretty much everything that we do, from housing to education to the way people are brought up to, I mean, everything top to bottom to jobs, and just quality of life and the way people treat others. But it has to change, and you have to do something about it. You have to talk about it. You have to show your support, but you also have to go out there and actually practice it as small as you can. If that's all you got, then that's what you do. But your interactions with everybody on a day-to-day basis, I mean, every little bit matters, and you have to do it through your actions. You can't just talk.
Sure, and I feel very grateful growing up in Dearborn Heights that it was such a mixed community. You know, we had people from all over the world, and growing up in that environment, it opened your eyes. It's like, well, these people aren't bad. You might see all these news stories on TV about what they think is happening, but they're very good people, and it's just different. It's a different culture, and that's not bad. You know, like the Arabic community, for instance, they love to be in their garages and be outside and have everybody over, and you know, I think that's great. You know, a lot of the white community, it seems like we're always in our houses talking to ourselves, and they're much more, come on over, you know, we're in the garage talking and whatever. So it's just different. Everybody's just different cultures. It's not good or bad. It's just what it is.
But that seems to scare people, where they don't understand people's backgrounds. When you're interacting with somebody who has different beliefs or different ideologies or different goals and seems different from you, people seem to be scared about that. And whether that's race, whether that's religion, whether that's beliefs or anything, it seems to close people off from others. But like similar to what you were talking, I graduated with somebody who moved out to Seattle, and now she's back in Michigan, but had done something really cool where Amanda Saab was had that bake shop, Butter Bear in Livonia. She was on a whole bunch of cooking shows. She actually made it onto Celebrity Chef with Gordon Ramsay, and made it pretty far on that.
Pretty prestigious.
She likes to bake, likes to cook, and so she did something in Seattle where it was dinner with the Muslims, and so she would bring other people in, and they would just talk, and they would eat food, and she would cook and make this dinner for, I don't know, 10, 15 people, and they would just talk about, it was just talk with strangers and like, what are your beliefs and what do you think of, and like, we're all individuals and we're all people and we're all here for the same reasons, and just to try and break down those barriers that people have preconceptions of, that you're just like me, I eat this food. This is good. You're a good cook. And just try and break that stigma that people may have that you're different from me. I don't like you. That shouldn't be a thing. But unfortunately it is.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a tough situation, and I think the narrative is definitely changing though. In the last couple of weeks, I've seen a massive swing, and the narrative is here. It's upon us. So we'll see what the future brings from us. Hopefully, in July, August, we don't have another cataclysmic event that just makes that seem like nothing, right? Hopefully,
Well, I saw a cartoon the other day where it was a picture of the Earth. It was in space, and there was a giant meteorite, and next was like an alien UFO, and one of them was saying, "Are you next? I'm sorry, you go ahead." So it's like, who knows?
well, you saw that in I don't even know what month. Maybe it was early March. I think the CIA released footage of legitimate UFOs that they had identified. We don't know what these are, and everybody just glanced over it. Nobody said a word about it.
Well, it was identified flying objects. So it was not a confirmation of aliens.
No, but it was
It
something.
was, I don't know what this is. I'm sure
Right.
there's an explanation for it, but
It was
here you
something
go.
that was just seemingly defying physics of how we know that flight it happens, and there was no propulsion that we could see. I've heard some stories that's like pretty eye-opening. Got some documentaries on the list to watch from different people on podcasts. Like, this sounds like it's craziness, and that this is probably already here. We just don't know about it.
Just don't go down too far down the conspiracy hole. You'll never come back out.
Yeah, down that rabbit hole, we come out a different person. But let's try to wrap this up a little bit. I think we just went over 2 hours. So that's a pretty good amount of time. Is there any shout outs you want to give to your cycling team, your multi-sport team?
Team Apex Multisport, yeah, they're a lot of fun. Big group of people, but very nice individuals, and it's fun to get out with them whenever I can. So yeah, it's fun to see friendly faces and people that you know from West Michigan when you go all over the place. So, no, I really enjoy being with them right now.
Very good. And is there any other shout outs or people you want to mention, say hi to?
No, they're okay. They're fine.
Okay. And you have a message for the world? Is there something you want to leave people with, either about try or life in general?
Be nice to each other. You don't get enough of that. Whatever work you put in, you're going to get back. But if you don't do anything and you don't try, you're also going to get that back too. So put in the work that you want to receive. Be nice to each other. Everybody's under a lot of stress these days, and you never know what somebody else is going through. You don't need to know their whole story, but it doesn't hurt to be nice to people.
Yeah, for sure. That's good to hear. So let's cut it there. Thanks for having you on. I appreciate it. You'll be my 5th or 6th or 7th podcast now. I'm in the middle of editing one, so I'm really glad my computer cooperated because I'm actually editing in the background, believe it or not.
Yeah, my internet's been on and off, so I crashed earlier. I'm sorry about that.
No problem. So I'm glad to have you on, Kevin Swahn. And where can they find you online if they want to find more about you?
Oh, I'm very small on Instagram. Other than that, I'm on Facebook. But.
Facebook, and you're also pretty big on Strava, right? They could find you on there.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, I post things there anytime I finish stuff. But yeah, I'm on there too.
Very good. Well, I'd love to go mountain biking with you soon, or road biking. I haven't been running very often, so
I'm sure we'll find a time. Yeah.
We'll have to get out there and get some of your Xterra training done. That's going to be a whole new ballgame.
Yeah, I don't know how we're going to do that, but we're certainly going to try.
Yeah. So I love you, Kevin. Nice talking to you, and I'll talk to you soon.
Love you. Have a good day.